Armchair Explorer is a part of the Voyescape podcast network. Check out all of their shows from around the world at voyescape.com. This episode is sponsored by Smart Travel, a new podcast from NerdWallet. You know, we've all got that one friend, haven't we? That one who finds all the best travel deals, picks the right cards, and somehow ends up in first class for the price of coach. Well, now you can be that friend because Smart Travel is like him or her, but in podcast form. They cover all things travel finance, like how to get real value from points, not just a tiny little reward at the end of checkout, or which flight deals are actually deals and not just clickbait, or when that convenient travel bundle might actually be a hidden tax in disguise, all that stuff. So travel smarter and spend less with help from NerdWallet. Follow Smart Travel wherever you get your podcasts. Welcome to Armchair Explorer on location. Travel and adventure stories recorded in the field in the most immersive way possible, designed to give you a glimpse of what it feels like to be there for real. Are you ready? Let's go. Oh boy, have we got a good one this week. We're going to head to Memphis, Tennessee. And if you haven't been, this is one of my favorite cities in the States. It's edgy, it's gritty, and it is full of soul. Literally, this is the place that soul music was born. Rock and roll was invented. Elvis first shook his stuff here, and lots more. But Memphis has always been about more than melody and music, because it was here on the banks of the Mississippi River that music changed the world. It brought people together of all colors through music and became the soundtrack to the civil rights movement. And if you're listening in real time when this episode came out, it is Martin Luther King Jr. Day in America, and that's why I wanted to share it today especially. MLK was, of course, shot and killed in Memphis, and I hope this episode is a small nod to the man who is one of my heroes, by the way, one of all of our heroes, I'm sure, as much as it is a celebration of the city itself and the sounds it produced. And oh my God, are we going to have some fun too? I'm going to take you to the legendary Sun Studios after hours, where we got to hang out in the actual control room with one of the sound engineers. One of the best nights of my life. Elvis cut his first record here. The Beatles recorded here. Jerry Lee Lewis, Johnny Cash. Amazing. And thank you, Crockett Hall. You're a legend. What else? Boo Mitchell, producer and owner of Royal Studios, whose father, Willie Mitchell, founded, discovered, invented the Memphis soul sound, is going to give us a tour of his studio. He is just one of the coolest guys I have ever met. And wait until you hear his story about recording Bruno Mars' Uptown Funk. Oh my God! And lots more too. And if you do enjoy this episode, check out our Tennessee Whiskey Trail episode. We produced that on this trip too as part of the series. And let's just say, whiskey distillery in a haunted 100-year-old prison. Need I say more? I went down to the hole and lost my SHIT. Quick reminder as well, before we get going, our on-location documentaries take a lot of time and money to make, so we partner with destinations to help make that happen. They help with the funding, but the storytelling is all ours, and I would never ever share anything on this feed that I don't love, that I'm not super proud of, and think you're going to love too. So thank you to Tennessee Tourism for helping to make this happen. But don't worry about any of that right now, because the band has just started playing and we're about to go on location in Memphis, Tennessee. Welcome to the Tennessee Music Pathways podcast. We're going to take you on a journey from the Great Smoky Mountains and the roots of country to the banks of the Mississippi and the birth of rock and roll. This is the soundtrack of America, made in Tennessee. Welcome to the Tennessee Music Pathways. have arrived. We're on Beale Street. This is the heart of the Memphis music scene. Music is blaring out of every door. There's neon signs lit up. I'm listening to blues. I'm listening to soul music. I'm listening to rock and roll. This is the beating heart of Memphis, not just because this is where you come to listen to music today. It's because this is where it all began. Beale Street is known as the home of the blues. In the late 19th and early 20th century, as one of only a handful of places in the segregated South to allow black-owned businesses, Beale Street became a cultural hotbed for African Americans across the South, including the most talented black musicians of the time. Robert Johnson, Howlin' Wolf, and of course, the legendary B.B. King all made their mark here. But in doing so, they also planted a seed. Because Memphis isn't just the home of the blues, it's the birthplace of modern music as we know it today. And it's that story that we've come to hear. But first, well, I have just arrived in Memphis, one of America's coolest cities, the birthplace of rock and roll, home of Elvis, Carl Perkins, Stax Music. I gotta be honest with you, I am feeling a little bit underdressed, but that's okay, because I know exactly where to go. And that is Lanksy Brothers, Clothier to the King.
Rolling.
Hal, so nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I need help with my style.
Okay, we can help you. You're dressed like one of our former customers, Johnny Cash.
This is Hal Lansky, the second generation owner of Lansky Brothers Clothing Store.
You know, he dressed all in black, and we somehow like to take credit for the man in black.
I'm going to take that to my grave, dressed like Johnny Cash. I don't think I've ever felt cooler in my life. But Johnny wasn't the only person to come in here. You've had tons of people, and of course the most famous is Elvis. So what's that story?
Well, you know, thank God our 15 minutes of fame dressing Elvis Presley has lasted a long time. So in spring of 1952, there's a young man looking in the window, and this guy was really out of place. You know, Beale Street was a rough and tumble street, and you just didn't hang out there. So my dad said, "Young man, come on in, let me show you around." And this young man, who we all know now was Elvis Presley, but back then he was a nobody, he said, "Mr. Lansky, I don't have any money, but one of these days I'm gonna come in and buy you out." And my dad, Mr. Lansky, said, "Don't buy me out, just buy from me."
Bernard Lansky had style. His clothes were the complete opposite of the clean-cut fashion of mid-century America. They were bright, colorful, and though he didn't know it at the time, they were made for the stage.
One day, Elvis came in and he said, "Mr. Lansky, I'm going to be on national TV." And my dad said, "Elvis, what show are you going to be on?" He said, "The Ed Sullivan Show." And my dad said, "Oh, my God, you're kidding me." So he said, "I'm going to need some shirts and some coats for the show." So my dad said, "Okay, come on, Elvis, let's go." So my dad was kind of throwing out the sport coats and the shirts. I said, "Elvis, this goes with this. This is cool right here." And then Elvis looked up. He said, "Mr. Lansky, I got a problem." And my dad said, "What's your problem, Elvis?" And Elvis said, "Mr. Lansky, I don't have any money." And my dad said, "Elvis, you got a problem. But I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you credit, but you better pay me back."
Elvis shopped at Lansky's from that moment to his death. Crowds would wait around just in case he might turn up. He would bring photographers and press. And he wasn't the only rock star to catch on. Carl Perkins, Jerry Lee Lewis, Roy Orbison, and countless others followed the King's lead. And so am I, because you don't just shop here for clothes. You shop here to be part of the legend.
And this coat we call the Killer. You know why it's called the Killer?
No.
Well, we named it after another one of our customers, Jerry Lee Lewis, and he was the Killer. I mean, and it's beautiful. It's like a leopard. It's got a lot of sequins in it. Of course, this must be our reptile department because we've got a beautiful gray snake in here. And you know, you come to our store to be different. You go to a party, you want to be the life of the party. I say, if you wear our clothes to the job interview or to get a loan at the bank, you're not going to get the job and you're not going to get the money. But if you wear our clothes, you're going to be the hit of the party.
I'm going to a party now, so what do you recommend for me?
I'd probably put you in the Louisiana hayride jacket.
Oh, yeah?
It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's
Can
pretty
I
good.
try it on?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah, like I said, you know, everything we have in here is very denim friendly. It's although we do look dressy, I know you're looking in the mirror, and if my dad was here, my dad was he had a lot of words of wisdom. He was quick. He shot off a lot of sayings. So my dad would say, "Man, the mirror's looking at you, and the streets want you, man. You're cool as a pool, man. Don't be no fool." But he would give you that lingo. But
that's the greatest Memphis start of a Memphis trip advice I've ever had. Okay. Thank you so much, Hal. I feel like I'm the part now. This is awesome.
All right, well, let's keep shopping. There's no limit now. If you're on the stage.
1 year after Elvis walked out of Langsy Brothers that first time, he walked into the recording studio and put down his first record. It was called My Happiness, a gospel song which he recorded for his mother Gladys. He was only 18 years old, and he didn't know then that his life was about to change forever, because it wasn't just any old recording studio. It was Sun Studio, and it was here that rock and roll would be born.
I'm gonna grab my drink. Here's y'all's beers. Go ahead and open them so you don't get the pop.
Cheers, thank you.
Yeah, cheers to y'all. Thanks for coming in and helping spread the gospel of this place.
We're getting a unique after-hours tour with Crockett Hall, a sound engineer who works in the studio today. He's a cool guy. It's late, he's coming off a 2-day recording session, he's tired, but as soon as we walk in, a smile lights up his face. Because if the Ryman is the mother church of country music, this is the hallowed ground of rock and roll.
I have a silly theory that, because the acoustic tiles have all those holes in them, that the dust of all the people that walk through, when they come in, and, that sticks to the walls. Bob Dylan used to say that it sounded like the people that were recording at Sun were singing for their lives, and like it mattered. And I think that when you're singing that way, if you are bringing the truth of what you feel, then that's going to stay there, and other people are going to interact and feel that. This place kind of opened up the idea of this matters, so make it matter, make it mean something. And that's what Sam was a big believer in, is if you're not doing something different, you're not doing anything at all.
Sam Phillips, the founder of Sun Records, moved to Memphis in 1945 to work as an announcer and sound engineer at the radio station WREC.
But he's not feeling it. He doesn't feel any sort of attraction to this pop music that he's having to go in and record for work every day. What he loves is the blues that he hears coming off of Beale Street. There's something more beyond this white bread, big band stuff that is on the radio. How do we make this happen? How do I get this music that is moving me so much more in front of the general public? So he starts the Memphis Recording Service. I'm flicking the light right now.
There was one major problem. This was a time of segregation in the South. Black and white musicians working together was unheard of.
Sam needed somebody who could help him convince the black artists that are performing on Beale Street that this was a safe place, that I want to give you the opportunity to come in and record this music professionally. He has to gain their trust. A key component of that is Dewey Phillips. That's his booth over to my left.
Dewey Phillips, no relation, was one of the most influential DJs of the time. He was also wildly eccentric.
The kids loved him. He was new, he was fresh. The other DJs and engineers that worked with him at WHBQ hated him, because if he didn't like the record he was playing, he would screech the needle across it, pick it up, and smash it against his microphone. So they're coming into the booth they all have to work in, and Dewey has shards of who knows how many records that night that he's like, I didn't really care for this one, and he smashes them. And so they finally had to build Dewey his own booth. That's what we're seeing over here now.
Just recording the music wouldn't be enough. He knew he had to find a way to bring it to the masses in order to draw the musicians from Beale Street into his studio. And Dewey Phillips was the man to do that. It worked. B.B. King, Howlin' Wolf, Rufus Thomas, all the great blues and R&B artists playing the clubs on Beale Street were soon knocking at his door.
Around the same time that Howlin' Wolf shows up here, a band from Clarksdale, Mississippi, finds out about the Memphis Recording Service from B.B. King. That band's name was Jackie Brinston and his Delta Cats. The reason many historians consider their song Rocket 88 to be the first rock and roll song is actually because of an accident that happened. On the drive up to Memphis, they hit a pothole. The amp flies off the back of the truck and it's damaged irreparably. But when they plug it in, when they get to the studio and turn it on, fuzz, distortion. And the very first recorded use of intentional rock and roll distortion. Of course, rock and roll distortion goes on to become one of the most foundational elements.
But Sam didn't know that at the time. What he knew was he had a hit. It's the song that convinced Sam to quit his job and start his record label. The song that would help him realize his dream of bringing traditionally segregated music, the music he loved, to a desegregated audience. That label would, of course, become Sun. But it doesn't start well.
Sam has this idea to record an answer song to Big Mama Thornton's Hound Dog, which was a huge hit at the time. And so he convinces Rufus Thomas, I will say much to Rufus's chagrin, to record this song Bearcat. But he's sued by Big Mama Thornton's record label. He's sued by Lieber and Stoller, and he's already in massive debt. So he's looking for absolutely anything that he can do to pull his one and only dream out of the gutter and make this place work. He hears about this group of prisoners called the Prisonaires that are in the Nashville State Pen. They're walked in shackles and chains with armed guards in the room while they're recording. That gets some local press. That is how Elvis Presley finds out about the Memphis recording service. And he's like, it might be the spot for me. He comes up here.
And he meets with Marion Keisker, the studio manager of Sun at the time.
She talks about how she remembers that day being very busy. And, this young punk kid comes in with the weirdest name she's ever heard. She remembers being very dismissive of Elvis, but she takes his information down. He comes back and records a custom session where Sam was allowing people to come in, pay $4, cut two sides of a 78 record. And Marion falls head over heels in love with the idea of Elvis Presley, because you can hear in that very first recording almost everything that he would go on to do. And she makes a note on the record, says good ballad singer, and saves a copy of this recording for Sam.
But Sam hated it. He would later say he was so unimpressed with what Elvis sounded like that he had zero interest of ever recording him again. If it ain't different, it ain't worth doing. But Marion persisted, and a year later, Elvis came back to record a session that would go on to transform the world.
He takes the first hour or two of the recording time and is playing these sad ballads and country and western songs. And Sam is just sitting back there in the control room, and he's looking for Ike Turner, rock and roll. He wants something that's like exciting. And about an hour or two passes, and Sam comes out from the control room and he says, man, let's all just take a break, which is basically code for I don't think we're going to get anything with this tonight. During the break, Bill has put his bass down, Scotty is getting ready to put his guitar down, and Elvis nervously starts just bouncing around the room, playing this obscure blues song by Arthur Big Boy Crudup called That's All Right. Bill jumps in and kind of goofily starts playing along a bass line, and Scotty comes up with this little guitar lick, and Sam, his ears perk up for the first time in hours, and he runs out from the control room and he says, hey, what are you doing? And they're like, well, I don't know. We're just kind of goofing off. And he's like, do that, but louder and faster. And so they jump into it again, do a few takes. Sam loves it so much, he takes it that very same night to Dewey Phillips. Dewey plays it on the radio a day or two later, and he gets so many phone calls and requests from people in Memphis saying, hey, play that again, that he plays it, some say 14 times, some say more.
And with that, rock and roll was truly born. And where did that magic happen? Right here in Sun Studios. Just hanging out in the control room of Sun Studios. Like actually here in the control room, looking through the window at the room where everyone from Elvis Presley, of course, and just about anyone that you could ever think of and want to and love to listen to has come here. The Mecca, the home of rock and roll. And we're here.
There they are. Okay. I'll start with this one. This is me trying to do the Ronettes.
Crockett is playing us some of his own music, recorded here at Sun, and you can hear Sam's signature style in every note, capturing in a moment that magic dust that seeps into the walls, and if you're lucky, rubs off a little bit on you too. I love the style, I love the sound, and I think the songwriting's great.
Thank you. My biggest goal with all this was to try and like do a little bit of everything I ever loved, because it feels like.
But Sun wasn't the only studio making history in Memphis. Hey, how are you guys? Aaron. Jeff. Nice to meet you. This is like a total dream for me, by the way. I absolutely love your music that comes out of this place. And so we're at the Stax Museum of American Soul Music to meet the executive director, Jeff Colath. But first, let's take a look inside. As you come into Stax Museum, the first thing you hear is music everywhere, and it's gospel music. And then you come to an actual recreation of Hooper's Chapel AIM Church. This is where it started. This is where soul music began, with gospel music, with African Americans singing in the church, singing their soul. There's a sign at the front, and it says, soul music was born in the church, and you can feel that spirit as soon as you walk through the door. From the church to the dance floor, the next thing you come across is a bright dance floor with funk and soul music playing, lights spinning. Oh man, you just can't help but move around when you get here. Oh my God, here we are. Wow, this is it, Studio A. This is where the magic of Stax happened, and we can see some of the famous instruments here. We can hear some of the music that was recorded here. I can see Al Jackson's drums. I can see Booker T's B3 organ, the actual organ where those hands press down those beautiful notes and sounds. Man, just being here is like being surrounded by musical instrument royalty. Listen, I might be a nerd, but things like Booker T's road cases just get me going when I see it. Like, these are the things that actually went to the concert. His crew took this with him. Oh, but there is nothing quite like seeing Isaac Hayes' peacock blue and gold-plated Cadillac. Oh, it's got white fur inside. This is like the sort of car you could only get away with driving in the 70s. It is so outrageous, but this is what this is about. It's about showing off. It's about peacocking. It's about singing with pride and putting that music out there. And nothing says that more than Isaac Hayes' Cadillac. I just gotta read this out. I walk through, there's a DJ booth. This room's all about the club. When the funk takes hold, when the funk takes over, when the funk won't listen, when the funk keeps yapping, oh hell yeah. It's about getting out there, dancing, strutting your stuff, and having fun, because at the end of the day, that's what music is all about, and that is what Memphis is all about today. Stax made records that people wanted to dance to and sing along to, and the music, like the museum, is a lot of fun. But there's a deeper side too.
So I think the big piece about what separated Stax was having black musicians and white musicians working together who had come from pretty different backgrounds, but had a mutual respect and appreciation for what it was that they were doing.
Jeff Colath, the museum's executive director.
The music brought these people together that wouldn't have otherwise been brought together, period. This was at the time of Jim Crow and segregation here in the city. They wouldn't have found another place to really come together and be able to work openly and collaborate openly without the opportunities afforded here at Stax.
It was a revolution. Black and white musicians playing together was unheard of at that time in the South. But integration is at the heart of what Stax was all about. Inspired by Sam Phillips' success at Sun Records, Jim Stewart, a white fiddle player from rural Tennessee, started Stax Records. It was 1960, and the studio was located in a working-class black neighborhood in Memphis, in opposition to all the social pressures and norms of the time. And he opened his doors to all the talented young musicians around him. Because Jim knew, like Sam, that despite the racial lines that were drawn across the South, good music is good music, no matter who plays it and no matter who's listening.
Being here in the South, there are working class people everywhere, black and white. The music, historically, has been broken down: white working class music, black working class music, the blues, soul, R&B, country. A lot of times it's the audience is the same. It's working class music. It's people that work 5 days a week and then on Saturday night want to go out to the club and have a little fun, and then Sunday morning go to church and wash everything away that happened on Saturday night, and then start the week over. And so I think that's they have more in common than they don't. It's everyday music for everyday people.
But it didn't last forever. Stax filed for bankruptcy and closed its doors in 1975. Too many unpaid bills. But another soul studio just down the road was still going strong. Stax wasn't the only studio here in Memphis that helped to put soul music on the map. And while the glory days of Stax are now a part of musical history, Royal Studios is still churning out hit records influenced by that original sound today, including a Grammy-winning song by Bruno Mars. That's right, Uptown Funk gonna give it to you, and that's exactly where we're going next. Hey, Boo, how's it going? What up? This is award-winning music producer Boo Mitchell, the owner of Royal Studios. Thank you so much for making the time to come and see us.
Got a heck of a setup there. Stereo, baby. No place like home.
Yeah. Awesome.
Give me a second.
Sure, take your time. Yeah. Oh my God. So this is the magic room right here.
This is the magic room.
Woo! Royal Studios, the home of High Records, opened in 1957. But then, in the mid-1960s, Boo's dad, Willie Mitchell, came on the scene, and under his direction, the sound changed dramatically.
So one of my dad's first records that he did not engineer, so this was The Crawl. This is one of the first. This is like, pop was inventing soul music, and this was one of the first records that. So when he started engineering, this is a Willie Mitchell engineered record.
Oh my God. Straight away. Damn.
The music just jumps out of the speakers. So Pop started engineering. Royal started to record a lot of other African American artists, and he started altering the room, getting it to look the way it looks now. Most studios were all wood or, hard surfaces. Right. And Pop just wanted to be different. So whatever everybody else was doing, he was like, I'm going to do the opposite. And we haven't touched it since then. Is
that right?
Pretty much
touched it. Just want to keep that original sound.
Original.
So he was like the first person to put like insulation and soft padding around it to kind of create that sound. And did he just experiment then?
He experimented, and he kept adding fiberglass and burlap until he got it.
It's everywhere, right? It's like all over the ceilings. It's amazing. And you've not upgraded it. It's like exposed insulation and stuff like that, but it's got this kind of magic feel to it because of that, right?
It feels like you're in a big pillow.
It looks odd, unfinished even, but Willie's design created a unique sound that had never been heard before, making it warmer, intimate, but punchier too. And studios around the world have been emulating him ever since.
It's warm and inviting.
It is. It's soft, and like there's these kind of soft tones and the kind of earthy tones and everything like that. So there's so many studios today that are putting all this technical gear and spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, but it's like, you know what, we got it. We don't need to change it. It's like...
Oh, yeah, man. So then the next Willie Mitchell record, you can hear the sound. You can hear the sound change again.
So this is after he fixed up the studio, just how he wanted it.
Mm-hmm. This one is around 1967. Mm-hmm. You can hear the Al Green sound starting to form.
So this is he really developed this sound. Is this the Memphis sound we're talking?
Yeah, he basically invented the Memphis sound. Like,
how did it? Like, what was his inspiration? Like, how can you come up with something like that?
All black music was either gospel, blues, big band, jazz, boogie woogie, you know, and he just wanted a new sound. So basically, Stax was born out of the sound that Willie Mitchell created. They took it to the world, but then in 1968, he meets Al Green.
Al Green changed everything. That Memphis soul Willie Mitchell created, paired with Green's deep gospel sound and vocal skill, took over the world. From 1971 to 1975, the pair scored a #1 hit every year, more than Stax's artists Otis Redding, Sam and Dave, and Booker T and the MGs received their entire careers combined. But Al Green wasn't the only Royal Studios star. Soon, everyone wanted that Willie Mitchell sound. And not just soul artists, Rod Stewart, John Mayer, even Snoop Dogg. And then Bruno Mars came to town. I read a quote of yours, which it's maybe one of my favorite music quotes ever, which is something like, the #1 job of a music producer is to know when God is in the room and just let it happen.
Yes. Yeah, dude.
Because it's like when I hear that music, I'm like, God is in that room. Yeah.
It's not about the perfection. It's about the spirit and the vibe of it. And so, as a producer, how I know when God is in the room, when the music is physically, like literally affecting my body. If the band's out here playing, and I'm checking emails and. You know what I mean? If it's not happening, but if they're playing and I'm up out of my chair and I'm jamming over the board, God is in the room.
It's so beautiful. So. There's always been that, going back to ancient times, there's always been that sense of the muse, right? Like that direct connection to the spirit that occasionally happens, and it's like
it's lightning in a bottle, man.
Yeah.
A time that I captured lightning in the bottle was on the Uptown Funk. Mm-hmm. We had Bruno in the vocal booth on, $20,000 mic, and he's got a plane to catch. It's like 6 a.m. He's got to be out of here in like 45 minutes, an hour or something. But we're all in the control room, jamming, and he's like, "Hey man, can I come in there and do the vocal with y'all?" And I'm like, "Oh my God." I'm like, "Yeah, okay." And at that time, to do a vocal in the control room, it's where the music's coming out of the speakers. Right. It's not where you want to be doing a vocal. I was just going, man, what mic is not going to feed back? SM57, basically like that mic right there, $89 mic. And when Bruno wants to do his vocal, I'm like, okay, music coming out of the speakers. And I stood in front of one, and the guys were crowded around. We're jamming. He does it, 2-3 times. And I'm just knowing, I'm like, they're going to, replace this vocal at Electric Ladyland or something. And his engineer calls me about a week later. It's like, man, the vocal we did on the 57? It's like, yeah. He's like, we're keeping that for the record. What? Because apparently they tried it, but the energy and the magic, once you capture, when God is there, you better be recording. It's hard to get him to come back. you can't will him back.
I love that. I bet you're all standing there, just trying not to scream, right?
I thought it was a scratch vocal.
Doesn't that say something deep about music too, right? How can we hear that? How can we hear that energy if it's not real, right?
Yeah. And that's another thing. Pop used to say, man, we're not selling music, we're selling feelings. It's like people buy music because it makes them feel a certain way.
In 2016, Uptown Funk won a Grammy for Record of the Year. It has sold more than 40 million copies to date and spent a near record 14 weeks on the #1 slot of the Billboard Hot 100. lightning in a bottle. We visit the control room where Bruno sang, and then on our way out, we stop by the drum set, the original kit that has been played on hit records here since the 1960s. And Boo, who knows that I'm a drummer, gives me the nod.
Yeah, man.
That's the favorite moment drumming I've ever done.
A dream come true. But Boo has another surprise.
Everything was laid out. You know, the Hammond B3 has been in that spot since '67.
So once you find that right spot for it, that's like...
Yeah, the piano, both of those instruments are 1967 vintage and have been there since that year.
Boo. Man, wow. It's been a dream hanging out with you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Cool, sure. At about the same time that Stax and Royal were getting started, something else was happening in Memphis that would influence them both. It started with Delta 88 and that amp falling out the back of the tour bus, but it didn't really hit the world stage until the King took over. It was called rock and roll. And just like soul, its power came from the breaking down of barriers that had separated black and white music. But it came from something else too. Because what Sam realized watching that young kid messing around with an old blues song on his guitar, what Boo realized dancing in the control room with Bruno Mars, what Memphis is all about, is that music doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to be played from the heart.
Sam had this idea that he called perfect imperfection. The great story of Sam's idea of perfect imperfection is actually Blue Suede Shoes by Carl Perkins. There's a story of him finishing the song, walking back into the control room, and his head is just hung low. Sam is sitting there beaming from ear to ear because he knows he's just cut a hit song. Carl walks back into the control room, and Sam looks at him, seeing his face just down, and says, "What are you upset about right now?" And Carl says, "Well, I bungled my solos. I said, let's go cat instead of let's go man. And I really think we need to do another take." And Sam says, "You're crazy. That's the song." It was a hit on the pop, country, and R&B charts all at the same time. What everybody wants and who they want to listen to is the authenticity. And that's what everybody's looking for is, I want to see the humanity in you.
And it shows us without ever having to say it that we're more alike than not. Which is important because something else was happening in Memphis at that time, and it's why this city had an impact far beyond the music it created. The world was changing. Those old barriers were being broken down, and soul and rock and roll, two art forms born from a fusion of black and white influences, became the soundtrack to that change.
Fusion, a climate of division, and even a climate of hatred.
But there was still much work to be done. Racial tensions were rising. And prompted by civil injustices and the deaths of 2 black sanitation workers in Memphis, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. came here to join the protests.
And I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land.
And he stayed at one of the only hotels in the city that allowed African Americans.
We are here at the National Civil Rights Museum, which is located in the historic Lorraine Motel.
This is Dr. Noel Trent, the Director of Interpretation, Collections and Education at the museum.
In 1945, Walter and Lori Bailey purchased the motel, and it became an oasis for Black travelers in a segregated Memphis. So that meant that there were specific places that were for whites only, and there were specific places that were for Blacks only. And so this was one of the nicer places that people could stay. They were featured in the Negro Motorist Green Book, which is an African-American travel guide. And in 1964, they were advertised that they were the only air-conditioned hotel in Memphis, which if you've traveled in Memphis during the summertime, you know that that is a big deal, right? They also had a swimming pool in the front courtyard that's no longer there, but that was also a gathering spot. So many people came through the museum. Young Aretha Franklin, Sam Cooke, Satchel Paige. Sam and Dave would hang out in the pool. Isaac Hayes was known to hang out in the pool of the courtyard. Maurice Hines from Earth, Wind and Fire grew up not too far from here and was known to have talked about how he would come to Lorraine and see what musicians were hanging out, right? So this was a place that saw an incredible amount of action. Mavis Staples and the Staples Singers, that family, was here a lot. So this is an incredibly important, powerful, and wonderful place without getting into Dr. King's presence here at the motel.
Those integrated Stax bands hung out here too. It was one of the few places that they could. But the Lorraine Motel will forever be remembered for one tragic moment that rocked the world.
It's a good day. He has catfish with his brother. They call their mom. They're hanging out here at the Lorraine. So people are out there smoking. They're in the pool. They're making jokes. You can hear music playing. There's just a lot going on in such a good way. And he's scheduled to go to dinner that evening. He's on the ground and he's headed up and because he talked to his driver and he said, "Hey man, do you think I need my coat?" He said, "Yeah, Doc, you might want to get that." And as he's heading up, he sees Ben Branch, who's a saxophonist who was supposed to play at the event on April 3rd, couldn't make it because of weather, but he was going to play at some event that evening. And he said, "Hey man, I want you to play Precious Lord for me." He loved Ben Branch's rendition of Precious Lord. And he said, "I will, Doc, and I want you to play it real pretty." Those were the final words that Dr. King spoke, allegedly. And that's when an assassin's bullet struck him on the balcony of room 306.
In the aftermath of Dr. King's murder, riots erupted around the city and across the country. And suddenly the music of Memphis took on an even deeper significance.
Stax really wasn't politically active until the assassination of Dr. King. And it was hard not to be, considering it happened just 2 miles or so from its doorstep. And then the things that happened in the subsequent days and weeks following the assassination. So I think what we see here is this understanding of change happening in the world, change happening around them here in Memphis, and then how to communicate that change in a way that has the broadest appeal.
The music, man, it's scientifically proven that music affects you more than anything. Music brings people together and it brings about a change. So when the civil rights movement happened, music was the vehicle.
I think what's unique about Memphis is that it's the unique fusion of blues, soul, and R&B and rock and roll that kind of comes out and affects the world. And I mean it quite literally, because this type of music goes out into the world and it becomes a form of resistance, right? There's something about these lyrics that promotes a sort of energy and an act of resilience and resistance. There's a reason why that music matters. It's incredibly important. And it's a way to claim your space, but to preserve your story and promote your history and make people understand your story. And that's what has come out of the music in Memphis.
Music was by no means the only driving force for the change that was happening in America at that time, but it was a part of it. Music, perhaps more than any other art form, has the power to unite people. It is a universal language that we all speak. And here, when we needed it most, it spoke of truth, change, and resistance. Of all of America's great music cities, Memphis is perhaps the greatest of all because it was here on the banks of the Mississippi River where music changed the world. It was here that traditionally black music, coming from blues, coming from gospel, combined with the country twang of rural America. And from that, for the first time ever, something new was born. Rock and roll, soul, and that music spread around the world and it united people and it changed people just when that change needed to happen. Just as the civil rights movement was coming, people came together listening to that beautiful sound, that sound of Memphis. And that is why you come. If this episode inspires you to come to Tennessee and explore these pathways yourself, you can find out more about how to do that, including all the things we mentioned in this episode, by going to tnmusicpathways.com. And make sure to tune into our final episode where we'll be traveling across the state from Memphis to Bristol along the Tennessee Whiskey Trail. If you love beautiful music, great whiskey, and good times, you're going to like this one. So hit that subscribe button and follow us wherever you get your shows. If you'd like to hear some of the historical recordings we mentioned, please check out our Tennessee Music Pathways Spotify playlist. The link is in the show notes and on the website. Thank you to all the guests and musicians who featured in this episode. If you want to look the part in Memphis, there's only one place to go. That's Lansky Brothers, Clothier to the King. Find out more at lanskybros.com. That's BROS. And you can buy online there too. Plus, a special thank you to Hal Lansky for showing us around and sharing those stories. Thank you to Crockett Hall for an amazing tour of Sun Studio. We had a blast hanging out with you. You can find out more about Crockett's music at crockettHall.bandcamp.com. That's CROCKETTHALL. For more information on Sun Studio, just go to sunstudio.com. And to find out about the Stax Museum of American Soul Music, go to staxmuseum.com. That's STAX. It's a must-see when you're in town. Incredible music and a lot of fun. And thank you also to Jeff Koleth, the museum's executive director, for showing us around and telling us the story of this amazing label. Thank you also to Dr. Noel Trent, the Director of Interpretation, Collections and Education at the National Civil Rights Museum. The museum is located at the historic Lorraine Motel. It's an incredibly powerful place, and I urge you to visit. Their website is civilrightsmuseum.org. And finally, a very special thanks to Boo Mitchell at Royal Studios. Boo, you are a legend. Thank you for an amazing afternoon and for making one little drummer boy's dream come true. Royal is a working studio, so you may not be able to get a tour, but you can find out more at royalstudios.com, and you can connect with Boo on Instagram at Boo Mitchell Memphis. This series was produced by Armchair Productions, the audio experts for the travel industry. Find out more at armchair-productions.com. My name's Aaron Millar. I wrote and presented the show, and Jason Patton produced and sound designed it. We'll see you next time on the Tennessee Music Pathways podcast. Thanks for listening to this Armchair Explorer on location episode. I had a ton of fun making it. I hope you had a ton of fun coming along with me. Next week, we'll be back with our usual format, and then there'll be lots more on location stuff to come.
I'm Max Hartshorn, host of the Go Nomad Travel Podcast. Every week, I bring you a short 5 to 8 minute escape to somewhere unexpected. I cover the kinds of travel stories you don't hear anywhere else, quirky destinations, unusual adventures, and people who make the world endlessly interesting. If you love discovering new places but don't have time for a long show, these bite-sized episodes are perfect for your commute, your walk, or your coffee break. Join me on the Go Nomad Travel Podcast and explore the world in just a couple of minutes.
If you want to travel more, ideally in luxury, but without the luxury price tag, this show is for you. I'm DeAndre Koch, and on Revolutionizing Your Journey, I use my unique vantage point as a financial advisor to break down exactly how my wife and I leverage credit card points and miles to fly business class, stay at 5-star resorts, and take bucket list trips for a fraction of the cost. Each week, I share real strategies packed with actionable tips and interview some of the smartest travelers in the game to help you revolutionize the way you travel. Travel well, live boldly, and find Revolutionizing Your Journey wherever you get your podcasts.